First contact under fire. The massive alien warship materialized above Chicago without warning. Its crystalline surface reflected the morning sun like a diamond suspended in the sky, beautiful and terrifying. Commander Jessica Reeves stood at the window of the International Space Defense Force headquarters, her coffee forgotten in her hand as she watched history unfold. "All stations, report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The response came immediately from dozens of operators monitoring Earth's defensive systems. "No aggressive posturing, Commander. Their weapons systems appear dormant. Multiple smaller craft deploying, defensive formation only. Picking up attempts at communication, non-standard frequencies." Jessica was about to respond when another flash lit up the sky. A second ship appeared, its design completely different from the first. Where the crystalline vessel was elegant, this one was all sharp angles and dark metal, bristling with what were unmistakably weapon ports. "New contact." The sensor operator's voice cracked. "Energy readings off the scale." The dark ship opened fire without warning or declaration. Beams of intense purple energy lanced out, striking the crystalline vessel. The defensive shields of the first ship flared brilliant blue, barely deflecting the assault. "Get me everything we have on both ships," Jessica ordered, already moving toward the command center's main tactical display. "And someone tell me why our early warning systems didn't detect either of them." Chief Science Officer Raj Patel appeared at her side, tablet in hand. "They're using some form of space-time manipulation for propulsion. Our sensors literally couldn't see them until they decelerated into normal space." The battle above Chicago intensified. The crystalline ship was clearly losing, its shields weakening under the relentless assault. Debris began falling toward the city. "Civilian evacuation status?" Jessica demanded. "Emergency protocols engaged. Underground shelters at 60% capacity and climbing." Jessica watched as a particularly large piece of debris broke through the crystalline ship's failing shields. "Track that fragment. If it's going to hit." Already on it, Lieutenant Kira Yoshida reported from the defense station. Interceptors launched. The fragment exploded harmlessly in the upper atmosphere, but it was only the beginning. More debris rained down as the battle continued to rage. Earth's defensive systems were never designed for this scenario, they were meant to track asteroids and space debris, not handle a full-scale alien battle in low orbit. "Commander," Raj called out, his voice urgent. "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations from both ships. Whatever drive system they're using, it's destabilizing the local space-time fabric. If this continues..." "What's the worst-case scenario?" "A cascade failure could tear a hole in reality itself. And we're ground zero." Jessica took a deep breath, weighing her options. Earth's experimental defensive platforms might be able to engage one of the ships, but using them would reveal humanity's technological capabilities to both alien species. More importantly, they had no way of knowing which side, if either, might be friendly. The crystalline ship was now venting atmosphere, its elegant surface marred by dozens of impact craters. The dark vessel pressed its advantage, maneuvering for what appeared to be a killing blow. "Commander," Kira called out, "I'm detecting an energy buildup in the crystalline ship. It's like nothing we've ever seen." "Analysis?" "If I had to guess." Raj studied his readings, "They're preparing to activate their space-time drive. In their damaged condition, that could be catastrophic." Jessica made her decision. "Lieutenant Yoshida, power up the magnetic deflector array. Not as a weapon, I want you to create a containment field around both ships. Dr. Patel, calculate the resonance frequency of those quantum fluctuations. We're going to try something unprecedented." The next few minutes were a blur of activity as the ISDF team worked to implement their commander's plan. They weren't trying to destroy or disable either ship, they were attempting to create a stable pocket of spacetime around the combatants, using Earth's magnetic field as a foundation. Field generators at maximum power, Kira reported. Containment field forming. The effect was immediate and visible. The space around both ships seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The dark ship's weapons fire began to dissipate before reaching its target, the energy absorbed and dispersed by the containment field. "We're getting a transmission," the communications officer announced. "From both ships. They're using basic radio waves." Jessica straightened her uniform. "Put them through. Let's introduce ourselves to our visitors." The screens came to life, showing two very different alien bridge crews. The crystalline ship's commander appeared to be a being of pure energy contained within a translucent shell. The dark ship's captain was a massive, armored figure with multiple pairs of eyes. "This is Commander Jessica Reeves of the International Space Defense Force, Earth," she announced, her voice clear and authoritative. "You are currently engaged in combat within our atmosphere, endangering our population. We have contained your vessels and will maintain this containment until both parties agree to cease hostilities and enter diplomatic discussions." There was a moment of stunned silence from both alien commanders. They had clearly not expected this level of intervention from what they had assumed was a primitive species. The energy being spoke first, its words translated by computer: "Your containment technology is impossible. Your species should not be capable." "That's a matter for discussion," Jessica interrupted. "Along with why you chose to bring your war to our doorstep. Now, shall we talk?" The armored figure's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "You would place yourself between our peoples? You cannot comprehend the complexities of our conflict." "No," Jessica agreed, "but we comprehend the physics of what will happen if your damaged drives initiate a cascade failure in our atmosphere. We also understand that neither of you expected to encounter a species capable of stopping your fight. That gives us a unique position as mediators, doesn't it?" As both alien commanders processed this, Jessica allowed herself a small smile. First contact had not gone as anyone had expected, but humanity had made its mark. They had demonstrated not only technological capability but also the wisdom to use it for peacekeeping rather than destruction. The real work would begin now, understanding why these species were fighting, what had brought them to Earth, and how humanity could help find a peaceful resolution. But they had achieved something remarkable: they had made two advanced alien species stop and listen. And sometimes, that was all you needed to change the course of history. The hidden advantage. Dr. Nathan Wright hadn't slept in 36 hours, but the excitement of analyzing alien technology kept him wide awake. The temporary research facility beneath ISDF headquarters buzzed with activity as scientists from around the world studied the data from both alien vessels. "Their quantum field generators are at least 3 centuries ahead of our best theoretical models," he muttered, staring at his holographic display. "But there's something wrong here." His colleague, Dr. Isabella Torres, looked up from her own workstation. "Wrong how?" "Their tech is too perfect." Nathan pulled up comparative scans. "Look at the crystalline ship's drive signature. It's flawless, every quantum fluctuation precisely controlled, every energy wave exactly matched. The dark ship's technology is similarly advanced, just with a different underlying philosophy." "And that's bad?" Isabella asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's inflexible," Nathan replied, pacing the lab. "Both species have optimized their technology to such an extreme degree that they can't adapt when something goes wrong. It's like they've painted themselves into a corner of perfect efficiency." The diplomatic talks above had reached a stalemate. The energy beings, who called themselves the Lumini, accused the armored Krivith of stealing their quantum drive technology. The Krivith claimed they had independently developed similar systems. Both sides were now demanding Earth's support in their conflict. Nathan's tablet chimed with an alert. The quantum fluctuations from both ships were increasing again, despite the containment field. He grabbed his coffee and headed for the command center. Commander Reeves was already there, looking as tired as Nathan felt. "Talk to me, Doctor. Why are our readings spiking?" "Their drives are becoming increasingly unstable," Nathan explained, pulling up the data. "The damage from their battle, combined with our containment field, is creating a feedback loop. Their perfectly calibrated systems can't handle the chaos." "Can they fix it?" "That's just it, their technology is so advanced that they've forgotten how to improvise. They're trying to solve quantum mechanics problems with quantum mechanics, when sometimes you need a hammer." Jessica's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Nathan took a deep breath. "Their ships are like Formula One race cars, incredibly powerful and efficient, but one broken part and they're useless. What we need is the equivalent of an old Jeep, not as fancy, but you can fix it with duct tape and wire if you have to." "Are you suggesting we can solve this crisis with primitive technology?" "Not primitive," Nathan corrected. "Adaptable. Look at our own space program. We still use chemical rockets alongside our most advanced engines because sometimes simple is better. We never abandoned old tech, we just kept adding new tools to our toolkit." A warning klaxon interrupted their discussion. The containment field was starting to fail as the quantum distortions intensified. "Both ships are reporting critical drive failures," Lieutenant Yoshida announced. "Their containment systems are cascading." Nathan studied the readings, his mind racing. "Commander, I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work." "Those are my favorite kinds of ideas right now. We can't stop the quantum cascade with their advanced tech, but we might be able to disrupt it with something much simpler. Our magnetic deflector array, it's based on old electromagnetic principles. If we modulate it to create overlapping fields. Like using waves to cancel out other waves," Isabella chimed in, catching on. "Basic physics instead of quantum mechanics." "Exactly. Their drives are so focused on quantum-level precision that they can't handle broad-spectrum disruption. It's like trying to stop a flood with a laser." Commander Reeves didn't hesitate. "Do it." The next few minutes were controlled chaos as Nathan and Isabella reprogrammed Earth's defensive systems. They weren't trying to contain the quantum fluctuations anymore, they were deliberately introducing controlled interference patterns. "Modulating magnetic fields now," Isabella reported. "Starting with low-frequency pulses." The effect was immediate. The quantum distortions began to stabilize, not through precise manipulation but through broad disruption of the underlying field patterns. "It's working," Nathan exclaimed, watching the readings normalize. "The cascade is collapsing back into normal spacetime." On the main screen, representatives from both alien species watched in bewilderment as humanity used what they considered obsolete technology to solve their advanced problem. "Impossible," the Lumini commander transmitted. "Your method defies all established principles of quantum field manipulation." "That's humanity for you," Commander Reeves replied with a slight smile. "We specialize in the impossible." The Krivith leader's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "Your species maintains knowledge of primitive technologies even after developing more advanced systems?" "We find it's better to have multiple tools at our disposal," Nathan explained. "Sometimes the old ways work best." As the crisis subsided, Nathan could see both alien commanders processing this new information. They had assumed Earth was a primitive world, then assumed it was another advanced civilization. The truth, that humanity had deliberately maintained a spectrum of technological solutions, seemed to challenge their fundamental understanding of progress. "Perhaps," the Lumini commander transmitted slowly, "there is more to learn from Earth than we anticipated." Nathan looked at the alien ships on the display, their quantum drives now stable thanks to human ingenuity. "Commander," he said quietly to Reeves, "I think we just changed the entire dynamic of these negotiations. Jessica nodded. And all it took was remembering that sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. She turned to address the alien commanders. Now, shall we discuss how this perspective might help resolve your larger conflict? The future of 3 species hung in the balance, and humanity had just proved they had something unique to offer, not despite their technological diversity, but because of it. Operation Blackout. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood in the ISDF's Tactical Command Center, studying the holographic display of Earth's solar system. In the week since the Chicago incident, both alien species had brought reinforcements to Earth's orbit, the crystalline ships of the Lumini glittering like stars on one side, the dark angular vessels of the Criveth looming on the other. Neither side will back down, he reported to Commander Reeves. The Criveth insist the Lumini stole their ancestors' technology. The Lumini maintain they developed it independently. Both want us to side with them. And both are positioning their fleets for a larger confrontation, Lieutenant Yoshida added. Our containment strategy won't work on this scale. Commander Reeves nodded grimly. Dr. Wright, what's our status on understanding their technology? We've made progress, Nathan replied, pulling up his latest findings. Both sides use quantum entanglement for their communications, incredibly sophisticated, theoretically unhackable. But they share a critical weakness: they rely entirely on quantum systems. No backups, no redundancies. Because they've never needed them, Isabella added. Their quantum tech is so advanced that the concept of system failure barely exists in their culture. Marcus studied the fleet positions. An idea was forming, crazy and dangerous, but potentially game-changing. Commander, what if we could force both sides to talk by making them face a common problem? I'm listening. Their ships are completely dependent on quantum communications. What if we could temporarily disrupt those communications? Create a communications blackout that affects both fleets equally? Nathan's eyes widened. The magnetic disruption field we used before, if we modified it. We'd need to scale it up enormously, Isabella interjected. Cover the entire Earth orbit. Can we do it? Jessica asked. Nathan ran calculations on his tablet. Maybe. We'd need to use every satellite in Earth's orbit, repurpose them all as magnetic field generators. It would be crude, inefficient. And completely unexpected, Marcus finished. They won't see it coming because it's too primitive by their standards. Commander Reeves studied the tactical display. How long would it take to implement? 6 hours to reprogram the satellite network, Isabella estimated. But we'll only get one shot. The power surge will burn out most of our orbital infrastructure. Jessica was quiet for a moment, weighing the cost. Earth's satellite network represented trillions in infrastructure and decades of work. But compared to the potential cost of an alien war in their solar system. Do it, she ordered. But first, we need to make sure we're ready for what happens next. The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. While Nathan and Isabella worked with global satellite control centers, Marcus developed the tactical response plan. They would only have a short window when both fleets were blind and disoriented. All stations report ready, Kira announced. Satellite network reprogramming complete. Send the warning to all Earth governments, Jessica commanded. Operation Blackout commences in 5 minutes. Marcus watched the countdown, mentally reviewing the plan. Success or failure, this would be a moment that changed human history. Initiating field generation in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and spectacular. A visible wave of electromagnetic energy expanded from Earth's orbit, crude but incredibly powerful. The quantum communication networks of both alien fleets went dark simultaneously. Quantum field disruption confirmed, Nathan reported. Both fleets are experiencing total communications blackout. On the tactical display, the alien ships began moving erratically, their perfect formations breaking down without quantum coordination. Some vessels drifted dangerously close to each other, while others fired up conventional thrusters in confusion. "Now for Phase 2, Marcus said, nodding to communications. "Broadcast on all standard radio frequencies." Commander Reeves stepped forward. Her voice would be the only thing either fleet could hear. "This is Earth. We have temporarily disabled your quantum communications to demonstrate a point. Your technology is advanced, but your reliance on it is a weakness. We have invited your diplomatic representatives to our lunar base for immediate negotiations. You have 1 hour before communications are restored. Choose wisely." The response came quickly, on radio frequencies that hadn't been used by either species in centuries. Both fleet commanders agreed to send representatives to the lunar base. "It worked," Isabella breathed, watching the diplomatic shuttles launch. "They're actually talking to each other." "Of course it worked," Nathan replied with a tired smile. "We just reminded them that sometimes the best solution is the simple one." Marcus watched as the alien diplomats landed at the lunar facility. "You know what this means, don't you? Even if they resolve their conflict, they'll never look at Earth the same way again." "Good," Commander Reeves said firmly. "Because we just proved something important. Humanity doesn't need to match their level of technology to be their equal. Our strength isn't in having the most advanced solutions. It's in having the most options," Marcus finished. As Earth's satellites gradually burned out, creating a light show visible from the surface, the future began to take shape. Humanity had forced two ancient, advanced civilizations to the negotiating table not through superior technology, but through creative thinking and willingness to sacrifice their own infrastructure for peace. The message was clear: Earth would not be a passive observer in galactic politics. They would be players, and they would play by their own rules. The enemy of my enemy. The lunar conference room was an unlikely place for galactic diplomacy. Originally designed for international space cooperation, it now hosted representatives of 3 species. Commander Reeves sat at the center of the Earth delegation, flanked by Marcus and Nathan, watching the tense exchange between their alien visitors. The Lumini representative, a being of swirling energy named Helios, pulsed with agitation. "Our development of quantum drive technology was independent. We have records dating back millennia." "Records can be falsified," interrupted Karn, the Krivith diplomat, his multiple eyes narrowing. "The quantum signature matches our ancestral designs too precisely for coincidence." "Stop." Jessica's voice cut through the argument. Both aliens turned to her, surprised by her directness. "You're both missing something crucial about this conflict." She nodded to Nathan, who projected a hologram of both species' quantum drive signatures. "Dr. Wright, please explain what you discovered." Nathan stood, adjusting his glasses. "We've analyzed both quantum drive systems extensively. They're not identical, they're convergent. Both species developed the same technology because it was the most efficient solution. Like how different species on Earth independently evolved similar features." "Impossible," both aliens said simultaneously, then looked at each other in surprise. "Actually," Marcus added, pulling up historical data, "we found evidence of this in Earth's own technological development. Multiple inventors often created similar solutions to the same problem, completely independently. We call it parallel development." The aliens processed this information in silence. The idea challenged centuries of conflict between their species. "But the quantum signatures," Karn began, "are similar because they obey the same laws of physics," Nathan finished. "Just like how both of your species developed quantum communications. Not because one copied the other, but because it was the logical progression of technology." Helios's energy form flickered thoughtfully. "If this is true, our entire conflict is based on a misunderstanding," Jessica completed. One that could have been avoided if either side had considered this possibility. But both of your civilizations were so convinced of your own perfection that you couldn't imagine another species reaching the same conclusions independently. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of hostility, based on an assumption neither side had thought to question. There's something else you should know, Nathan added, bringing up new data. We've detected unusual quantum fluctuations at the edge of our solar system. They're getting stronger. Both alien representatives stiffened, or their equivalent gestures. They recognized the pattern. The cascade effect, Helios whispered. What we feared most, Karn rumbled. Jessica leaned forward. Explain. The fundamental flaw in our quantum drive technology, Helios explained. Extended use creates microscopic tears in spacetime. We thought we had centuries before it became a problem. But the frequent use of quantum drives by both our species in our conflict has accelerated the degradation, Karn finished. The tears are beginning to merge, creating a cascading failure that could rip spacetime apart, Nathan concluded. That's why you both came to this sector of space. You were looking for new territories, trying to outrun the problem you created. Can it be stopped? Marcus asked. Both aliens went silent, their equivalent of a helpless shrug. Maybe, Nathan said slowly, that's where Earth comes in. Our primitive approach to technology might offer a solution. We never abandoned the basics in our drive to advance. We might see options you've overlooked. Jessica stood, her decision made. Here's our proposal, we help you solve the cascade effect. In exchange, both your species agree to a permanent ceasefire and share your technological knowledge with Earth, not as superiors, but as equals. We all face this threat together. You believe your species can solve what we cannot? Karn asked, but without his earlier condescension. We don't know, Jessica admitted. But we'll try something you haven't, we'll work together, combining all our knowledge and approaches. Advanced doesn't always mean better, and primitive doesn't always mean simple. Helios's form pulsed with what seemed like hope. The humans have proven their worth. Their methods are unorthodox, but effective. And they think differently than we do, Karn added. Perhaps that is what we need. As the aliens began discussing terms of cooperation, Marcus leaned close to Jessica. Think this will work? She watched the former enemies cautiously beginning to collaborate, sharing information about the cascade effect. It has to. We just turned two advanced species from enemies into allies. Now we have to prove we deserve their trust. By saving reality itself, Nathan muttered. No pressure. Jessica smiled. That's humanity's specialty, isn't it? Doing the impossible because nobody told us we couldn't. The fate of 3 species, and perhaps the fabric of spacetime itself, now hung on humanity's ability to find an unconventional solution to an unprecedented problem. But for the first time, they wouldn't face it alone. Victory through innovation. The observation deck of the ISDF station provided a perfect view of the experimental array. Hundreds of satellites, human, Lumini, and Krivith, formed a vast web in Earth's orbit, their combined technology representing the largest cooperative engineering project in known history. Commander Reeves stood with representatives from all 3 species, watching the final preparations. 3 months of continuous work had led to this moment. The cascade has reached Pluto's orbit, Nathan reported, his fatigue evident but eyes bright with determination. We're ready to begin. The quantum tears in spacetime had grown faster than anyone predicted. What had begun as microscopic rifts now threatened to tear the solar system apart. But the solution they developed was equally unprecedented, a combination of all 3 species' technologies that nobody would have imagined possible before. Explain the process one final time, Karn requested, his multiple eyes fixed on the array. It's beautifully simple, actually, Isabella replied. She'd become the project's lead theoretical physicist. We're using modified versions of Earth's electromagnetic disruptors, powered by Lumini quantum cores, channeled through Krivith spatial matrices. Instead of trying to seal the tears, we're going to essentially restart this section of space-time, like rebooting a computer. A crude analogy, Helios observed, but accurate. Though no species has ever attempted anything like this. That's because no species tried combining technologies this way, Marcus added. He'd coordinated the massive engineering effort. We each had pieces of the solution, but we needed all three approaches working together. Jessica watched the final power reading stabilize. Begin the sequence. The array hummed to life. Beams of energy connected the satellites, forming a geometric pattern that stretched across Earth's orbit. At key intersections, Lumini quantum cores pulsed with brilliant light, while Krivith matrices bent space itself into new configurations. First phase complete, Nathan announced. Beginning spacetime modulation. The effect was visible even from the station. The very fabric of reality seemed to ripple, like waves on a pond. Where the quantum tears had created jagged wounds in spacetime, the combined technology began smoothing them out, rewriting the fundamental structure of reality itself. It's working, Isabella breathed, watching the readings. The tears are being reintegrated into normal spacetime. Energy consumption is massive, Marcus reported. The array is at maximum capacity. For tense minutes, they watched as their unprecedented experiment unfolded. The fate of not just Earth but this entire sector of space hung in the balance. Look! Nathan pointed to the main display. The quantum tears were disappearing, reality knitting itself back together under the influence of their combined technology. Cascade effect reversing, Isabella confirmed. Spacetime stability returning to normal parameters. A cheer went up from the human crew members. The Lumini pulsed with their version of joy, while the Krivith performed their species' victory gesture. We did it, Jessica said quietly, then turned to address their alien allies. This is just the beginning. Think of what else we could accomplish together. Helios's energy form sparkled. Your species has shown us a new way forward. The combination of technologies. More than that, Karn interrupted. You've shown us the value of maintaining multiple approaches to problems. Our pursuit of perfect technology led us to abandon simpler solutions that proved crucial. And our conflict nearly destroyed us all, Helios added. While working together saved us. Jessica smiled. Then perhaps it's time to formalize that cooperation. Earth would be honored to join an alliance between our species, not as students or teachers, but as equals. Each bringing our own strengths to face whatever challenges the universe presents next. The aliens exchanged looks, or their equivalent. Both had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive world. Instead, they'd found partners who had shown them new ways of thinking about technology, progress, and cooperation. We accept, they said in unison. As the sun rose over Earth, casting golden light across the massive array that had saved their corner of space, Jessica reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had proved itself not by matching the aliens' advanced technology, but by showing them a different way of thinking. Their primitive approaches, combined with willingness to learn and adapt, had turned potential destroyers into allies. So, Marcus asked, joining her at the window, what's next? Jessica watched their new allies already beginning to discuss joint projects, sharing ideas and technologies in ways that would have been unthinkable months ago. Now, she smiled. Now we show them what humanity can really do when we work together. The universe won't know what hit it. The end.